Incredible twist. Black Mom's heartwarming moment exposed as FBI team reveals hidden truth at park. The sun blazed overhead, casting a warm glow on the bustling park as families gathered, laughter dancing in the air. Maya stood at the entrance, her heart swelling with pride. Today was the community picnic, a much-anticipated event to support local veterans. She watched as Jordan and Imani dashed off, their giggles echoing through the crowd like music. The smell of barbecue wafted around her, mingling with the sweet scent of cotton candy. This was their neighborhood, a vivid tapestry of life that she cherished fiercely. But even in paradise, shadows lurked. News had spread like wildfire. A crime ring had begun to taint their beloved home. Maya pushed the worry away, clinging to the spirit of joy that the picnic promised. She was determined to show her kids that even when life challenged them, they could rise above. Yet, as the chatter filled the space, her smile faltered when the FBI stormed in, their uniforms stark against the festive colors. Daryl, she gasped, feeling her stomach drop. He was the very essence of community spirit, always offering help to neighbors in need. As he was led away in handcuffs, a heavy silence fell over the park. Confusion mixed with anger ignited the atmosphere. Maya's mind raced. How could this man, who always put others first, be part of something so sinister? Daryl had a family who looked up to him, just like she did to her own. He has always been there for us. He is not who you think he is, she proclaimed, her voice cracking with desperation. Murmurs swelled a mixture of doubt and support spiraling through the crowd. They trusted him. Could they still trust him? Suddenly, the reality set in. She glanced at Jordan and Imani, wide-eyed and uncertain among the chaos. She could almost feel their little hearts racing. What kind of example was she setting? Maya steeled herself, blinking back tears. She needed to model strength and resilience in this storm. Just then, amidst the rising tensions, voices erupted around her. Each family member debated justice, painting a picture of betrayal. Yet, their anger mingled with a flicker of hope. Maya needed to guide them through this. She owed it to her children and their community. How could they transform this fear into unity? Then, an unexpected revelation broke through. An image flashed among the crowd, a photograph that seemed to illuminate the truth. It suggested Daryl could be working undercover against the crime ring all along. Gasps echoed, shifting emotions instantaneously. They were on the brink of understanding the man they thought they knew so well. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The picnic still buzzed with uncertainty, and as eyes shifted towards Maya, she felt the weight of her community's hopes resting on her shoulders. Would their bonds withstand this challenge? Could forgiveness flourish beside justice? As the unfolding drama reached a fever pitch, Maya's heart raced, an unresolved question lingering. Would they come together, or would they fracture apart at a moment they desperately needed connection? The clock ticked away, and the fate of their unity rested firmly in her hands. Maya felt the heat of the sun above, but also the heat of the moment surrounding her. As handcuffs clinked against metal, the air turned thick with anxiety and confusion. Families stood with bated breath, caught between whispers of disbelief and shouts of betrayal. A tightening knot formed in her stomach, and she looked at her children. Their innocent faces reflected a blend of wonder and fear. "Mom, is Daryl really a bad guy?" Jordan's voice, small and strained, pierced through the murmurs like a beam of light. Maya swallowed hard. "I don't know, honey, but sometimes things aren't what they seem." Even she struggled to believe those words. The FBI agents continued to escort Daryl away, but Maya's instincts flared to life. She couldn't let fear dictate their day or their community. Raising her voice just above the crowd's roar, she called out, "We need to trust each other now more than ever. Daryl has always stood up for us. Let us not jump to conclusions." Her words flared in the charged air, igniting some hope while challenging skepticism. Faces turned toward her, some drawn with anger and confusion, while others displayed expressions of cautious support. As she looked into their eyes, She could see the same question reflected. Could they stake their faith in a man who might be more than he appeared? Underneath the chaos, an emotional current surged. She sensed a collective yearning for clarity, a desire for affirmation that they were not alone in this turmoil. Maya lifted her chin, feeling an unexpected weight settle on her shoulders, and she took a step forward, her heart pounding. "Let us gather the facts," Maya exclaimed, her voice steady. "We need to find out what's really going on. We owe it to ourselves and to Daryl's family to discover the truth together." Murmurs began to ripple through the crowd, increasing in volume and intensity. Some nodded, others looked skeptical, but a change was underway. Memories of shared barbecues, support during tough times, and laughter echoing through the park resurfaced. "Mom, can we help?" Imani asked, her eyes wide with determination. Maya smiled down at her little girl, feeling a rush of warmth inside. "Yes, we can. We'll rally our neighbors, ask questions, and dig deeper. That is what families do, right?" "Right." Jordan chimed in, emboldened. With a newfound sense of purpose, Maya guided her children through the growing crowd. As they approached groups of anxious families, she encouraged conversations about Daryl. They needed to share stories, feelings, and fears, an arena for connection instead of division. A group of mothers joined her, their expressions a mix of worry and determination. "We can reach out to Daryl's wife," one of them suggested. "She deserves to know we're here for her." "Yes, let us show them they're not alone in this," Maya agreed. Together they could flood Daryl's family with love, reminding them that in tough times, the community was the heart that pulsed strongest. But just as a spark of unity ignited, an unsettling truth bubbled beneath the surface. Could they solve this mystery without tearing each other apart? And what if Daryl really was in too deep? Maya bit her lip, the weight of doubt growing. The path ahead was unclear, fraught with challenges she hadn't anticipated. Anxiety slithered back in the festering doubts, threatening to overshadow the rallying spirit. As she looked around at her neighbors, she saw both strength and vulnerability in their faces. They needed clarity, but she was beginning to wonder if uncovering the truth would bring them together or push them further apart. In that pivotal moment, she faced another question. Was there a way for justice and community to coexist? The clock was ticking, and together, they had to decide if they were building bridges or digging trenches. Maya led her children through the crowd, their little hands intertwined with hers, offering her strength as she felt the waves of uncertainty crash around them. She fought to keep her chin up, her heart racing faster than her thoughts. The noise of confused voices echoed in her ears, but she focused on each face that passed by, searching for a hint of understanding or reassurance. "Can we get some ice cream after this?" Jordan asked, trying to lighten the mood, but his eyes still betrayed his worry. "Sure, buddy. After we figure this out," Maya replied, forcing a smile, though her mind was miles away. She watched as families clustered together, debating in fierce whispers. The tension was like a rubber band pulled too tight, and any moment now, it might snap. As if sensing her turmoil, Imani squeezed her hand. "Mom, will you be okay?" "Yeah, sweetheart," Maya assured her, though for the first time, she wasn't sure. Wasn't it her job to keep everything together? Yet now, it felt as though the ground was shifting beneath her feet. With each step, she felt a growing ache in her chest. The community had always been their backbone, a web of support woven from years of shared experiences. Yet this incident threatened to undo it all. Would they stand together, or tear apart with the truth? "Let us find Daryl's wife," a voice chimed in, pulling Maya from her thoughts. It was one of the mothers from earlier, her eyes shimmering with determination. "She needs our support." "Absolutely. We can't leave anyone behind," Maya said, gratitude blooming inside her for this united front. "Where can we find her?" A man stepped forward. "I think she lives just up the block on Maple Street. We can go together." The group joined forces, their collective energy electrifying as they moved toward the familiar neighborhood. Maya felt a flicker of hope igniting within her. Maybe this would be the moment they came together, not just for Daryl, but for one another. They reached the front door where the familiar scent of home-cooked meals wafted through the open window. Maya knocked, her heart pounding with anticipation. What would Daryl's wife say? Would she know anything about the accusations swirling around him? Moments passed, and as they waited, they glanced at one another, some faces uncertain, others resolute. Finally, the door creaked open. There she stood, Daryl's wife, eyes rimmed with worry, her hair disheveled, but her spirit unyielding. "What has happened?" she asked, confusion and fear mingling in her voice. "Maya, thank goodness you came." The relief in her eyes was tangible. "I've been trying to reach you. There's so much on my mind." Maya took a step forward, finding her voice. "We're here to support you. We want to understand what's going on, to help you." The wives of other neighbors rallied as well, their solidarity creating an invisible bond. As the sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows across the pavement, a warmth enveloped them. They weren't alone. "I just don't know how it all happened." Daryl's wife faltered, her voice trembling. "He's not a bad man, but I found something." The group leaned in, hearts racing, every word a thread pulling them closer to the truth. Maya felt the weight of uncertainty lift slightly. Maybe, just maybe, the facts would bind them rather than tear them apart. "Can we see what you found?" someone asked gently. She hesitated, a flicker of doubt crossing her face. "It's hard to explain. I just didn't want to believe it." Maya held her breath, the possibility that this was the turn they needed. Justice? Clarity? What awaited them behind that door? What truth would unravel in a community so tightly knit, caught between love and betrayal? As Daryl's wife stepped back, revealing a glimpse of chaos within her home, Maya felt a surge of adrenaline. And just like that, the quest for truth began, fragile yet powerful, binding them in ways they couldn't yet understand. Would this journey unite their community in a way they hadn't imagined? Or would the truths they uncovered scatter them further? The next chapter awaited. And so did the choices that lingered in the silence. Maya stood at the threshold, the door hovering just ajar, uncertainty flickering in the air like a candle flame on the verge of extinguishing. Daryl's wife took a deep breath and let the door swing wide, inviting them into a living room that felt heavy with the weight of unspoken words. The room, once vibrant and full, now seemed almost hollow, strewn with remnants of a life disrupted. Toys lay scattered, a half-eaten sandwich rested forgotten on the coffee table, and the smell of something homemade mingled with the scent of anxiety that clung to the air. Daryl's wife stepped aside, and Maya's heart sank at the sight of her shattered confidence. "I found this," she murmured, reaching toward a table piled high with papers. Her fingers trembled slightly as she pulled out a file, handing it to Maya with a mix of desperation and fear. Maya opened it, revealing pages filled with marked documents and photographs, and a chill crawled up her spine. As she scanned the images, nausea twisted her stomach. "What are these?" she whispered, almost afraid to ask. "Paperwork from the company he's been working for," Daryl's wife explained, her voice cracking. "Funding discrepancies, financial records, things that don't add up." I didn't want to believe it. He always told me everything was fine, that his job was secure. The group gathered closer, their breaths held as they pored over the file, disbelief etched on their faces. Maya's thoughts raced. Was it possible? Could Daryl have been caught up in something illegal? Imani squeezed her mother's hand tighter, her own eyes wide. "Mom, is he going to be okay?" she asked in a small voice, clearly struggling to comprehend the severity of the situation. Maya swallowed hard, forcing strength into her voice. "We don't know yet, honey, but we're going to find out." A wave of murmurs swept through the group as they exchanged worried glances. The mounting bewilderment turned to whispers of curiosity and dread. Was their neighbor really involved in something criminal? And if so, how did it impact the kids? Daryl's wife stepped forward, her hand trembling as she pointed to a particular image. "That's a transaction with someone I don't recognize. I tried calling him after I found this, but he's not answering." The worry in her voice spiraled like a whirlpool, pulling them all into her fear. Maya felt her chest tighten again. What if Daryl wasn't just innocent? What if their very foundation of trust was built on deception? "We have to ask him," Maya said firmly, trying to mask her own fear with resolve. "We have to know the truth, no matter how painful it might be." The room fell silent, the weight of her words sinking in. What if the truth shattered their community, their bonds? But what if it didn't? What if bringing these issues to light saved not just Daryl, but everyone? Jordan tugged at her shirt, his innocence shining through the cracks of anxiety that weighed on her heart. "Can we still get ice cream?" he asked, trying to find light in the darkening shadows of reality. A soft laugh escaped Maya's lips, the warmth of her son's spirit breaking through the tension. Yes, Jordan. We will get ice cream, but first, let us try to help Daryl. Together, they stood, an unyielding force in the face of an uncertain future. As they began to discuss their plan, a sudden thought struck Maya. What if there were more victims involved, more lives intertwined in this mess? The thought hung over her like a storm cloud, waiting to unleash its truth. What damage had been done beneath the surface, and who else would be swept along? With hearts racing, they set out as a coalition, united by fear, but fueled by hope. They were ready to confront the truths hiding in the dark, and as they hesitated just outside Daryl's door again, Maya felt that flicker of urgency burn brighter. What would they uncover once that door opened? And would it unite them, or would it lead to further division? There was only one way to find out. The door creaked as Maya pushed it open wider, the sound echoing against the stillness of the house. The living room felt unsettlingly cold, and Maya's stomach twisted in knots. The moment was ripe with expectation as they stepped inside, determination steering their hearts. The world outside seemed so mundane compared to the storm brewing within these walls. Daryl's wife followed closely, her footfalls heavy. He should be home any minute. I didn't know who else to turn to, she whispered, looking down, her voice barely rising above the shuffling of their shoes on the wooden floor. Maya's gaze caught Imani's anxious expression. We're going to find out the truth together, okay? She said softly, ruffling her daughter's hair. Imani nodded but didn't fully meet her mother's eyes, clearly still grappling with the unknown. As they waited, Maya glanced once more at the file clutched tightly in her hands. Each page felt like a weight. It was hard to reconcile the jovial Daryl they all knew with the possibility of betrayal hidden in those documents. What if he is scared? Jordan piped up, his small voice pulling Maya from her thoughts. Maybe he is in trouble and needs help? Don't worry, buddy. We're here to help, Maya reassured him, her heart aching for the innocence in his words. They weren't tackling some petty neighborhood tiff, they were navigating the unthinkable. Just then, the unmistakable sound of a key turning in the lock broke the silence like a gunshot. Maya's heart raced, pure adrenaline coursing through her veins. The door swung open, revealing Daryl, whose carefree demeanor seemed so out of place. Hey, everyone, he exclaimed, surprised to see them gathered. His smile faded as he looked around, sensing the tension in the room. Maya took a step forward, her voice steadier than she felt. We need to talk, Daryl. Daryl's brows knitted together, the carefree shine in his eyes dimming in an instant. What is going on? Just sit down, please, Maya urged. The weight in the room shifted as they formed a circle, each person braced for what was to come. As he sat down, confusion settled onto his features. This feels serious, he said, scanning their solemn expressions. Maya took a breath, launching into the conversation. We found something. Something you need to explain. She held out the file toward him, determined yet anxious about his reaction. His expression morphed from confusion to disbelief as he flipped through the pages. Silence engulfed the room, thickening with each passing second. Daryl's hands shook slightly, his gaze darting from the documents to each of their faces. It's not what you think, he finally managed to say, his voice laced with panic. Before he could finish, Daryl's wife interrupted, tears pooling in her eyes. Daryl, why didn't you tell me? You've been keeping this from us. Anguish cracked her voice, and the pain in her expression felt like a dagger to Maya's heart. Maya's heart raced, each beat echoing in her ears. Trust was unraveling, and their small community was starting to seem even smaller, like a house of cards on the verge of collapse. We're your friends. We want to help you. Just tell us the truth, she urged. But just as Daryl opened his mouth to speak, a loud bang jolted everyone's attention towards the front door, echoing in the tense atmosphere. A group of uniformed agents burst in, their expressions grave. Daryl's face went pale, eyes darting around in alarm. Maya felt her breath hitch. This was the moment everything could change. Had all their fears been realized? Were they too late to save Daryl, or worse, themselves? FBI, everyone, stay where you are. An agent shouted, turning their world upside down in an instant. What had unfolded just beneath the surface? And would they be able to trust Daryl, Or was he tied up in something far darker than they ever imagined? Maya's heart pounded, a wild drumbeat in her chest as the agents stepped further inside the house, their eyes scanning the room. Daryl stood frozen, his face a mask of confusion and fear. Tension hung in the air, thick and suffocating. Imani grasped Maya's arm tightly, her small fingers digging in as if to anchor herself against the chaos unfolding before them. Daryl, what is happening? Imani's voice trembled like a fragile leaf, and Maya leaned down to wrap an arm around her daughter, trying to shield her from the storm. Everyone listen, the lead agent commanded, his voice deep and authoritative. We're here concerning an ongoing investigation. Daryl, he pointed a finger directly at him, you need to cooperate. We have serious questions. Daryl swallowed hard, glancing between the agents and his wife. The betrayal gripped Maya's heart. Could he really be involved in something dangerous? I didn't do anything, Daryl stammered, his eyes darting toward Maya pleadingly. Tell them everything, his wife urged, tears streaming down her face. It broke Maya to see such raw pain reflected in her friend's eyes. We deserve to know the truth. Maya, Daryl called out, his voice desperate. I can explain everything. But just as he spoke, an agent stepped forward, brandishing the file she had handed Daryl earlier. We need to know how you got this information, he said, flipping through the pages as if they held the key to a locked door. Maya's stomach dropped. The very documents that had sparked their confrontation were now a beacon of suspicion. Listen, she interjected, trying to regain control of the spiraling situation. We're friends. We found those pages trying to figure something out for Daryl. We thought he might need help. Her voice broke slightly, pleading with the agents and hoping they could see her sincerity. Your friend is mixed up with people we're investigating for fraud, the agent replied, his voice devoid of empathy. And these files show he could be involved. No, Daryl shouted, stepping closer to the agents. I didn't know anything. I swear. It's a misunderstanding. Maya could feel the weight of every pair of eyes in the room, some curious, some judgmental, all filled with uncertainty. The silence blurred her understanding of what to do, and fear twisted her gut like a vice. She wanted to believe Daryl, but the unraveling truth made it impossible. Jordan, who had been completely quiet up until then, finally spoke up, breaking the silence like glass shattering. Daryl's my friend. He plays with us. You can't take him away. The raw emotion in her son's voice tugged at Maya, but before she could comfort him, the lead agent turned sharply to Daryl. We're taking you in for questioning. Maya felt her heart sink, panic flooding her senses. No, you can't, she yelled, trying to connect with Daryl, her gaze intense and searching. You need to fight this, Daryl. Tell them the truth. But clarity fled from Daryl's expression as the agents moved closer, forcing him back. I didn't mean for any of this, he murmured, more to himself than to anyone else, his voice cracking under the pressure. The door swung shut behind him as they escorted him out, and the world crumbled around Maya. Tears prickled her eyes, and she felt the weight of Imani's small body pressed against her side, trembling. Mom, her daughter whispered, uncertainty lacing each syllable. Is Daryl really a bad guy? Maya swallowed hard, the truth almost too painful to voice. I don't know, but we'll find out. Just as the words left her mouth, a loud crash echoed from the back of the house. They stood frozen, breaths caught, hearts racing. What other secrets lay hidden in the shadows? In that moment, as fear gripped them, Maya's resolve hardened. The truth had to be out there somewhere, and she would not rest until she found it no matter the cost. As the heavy silence in the room settled, Maya's heart raced in sync with the echo of that crash. She turned her head sharply towards the sound, her instincts screaming at her to move. Imani clung to her side, eyes wide with fear, and Jordan looked between them, uncertainty plastered on his youthful face. Stay here, Imani, Maya instructed, trying to sound more confident than she felt. She had no idea what lay beyond that other room, but she knew she had to investigate. Before either child could protest, she edged toward the hallway that led to the back of the house. The faint light flickered overhead as she stepped carefully through the narrow passage. Each creak of the floorboards made her heart pound louder. What could have caused that crash? Was it another agent, or perhaps something else entirely? She steeled herself, reaching the kitchen. There, mid-explosion of shattered glass and a toppled chair, A broken window stood open, curtains fluttering in the wind. Cold air rushed in, bringing with it a strange, unsettling chill. Was someone trying to get in or escape? Daryl? She called, anxiety tightening her throat. The name escaped her lips like a desperate prayer, but only the echoes of her voice answered. Suddenly, Jordan stepped cautiously into the kitchen, his wide eyes scanning the wreckage. "What happened, Mom?" he asked, barely above a whisper. "Stay back, honey," Maya urged, fear creeping into her voice. As she took in the scene, an odd sensation settled over her. It wasn't just the broken window. It was the scattered papers on the floor, the unmistakable outline of Daryl's jacket slung haphazardly by the counter. Her breath caught. She stepped closer, kneeling to examine the scattered files while her heart began to race with dawning realization. These weren't just ordinary papers. They bore Daryl's name and an array of numbers that didn't make sense. Her mind raced, trying to piece together the puzzle. Just as she reached for the closest document, a sudden noise made her jump, a soft thud outside the window. Maya whipped her head around, and her instincts kicked in. She couldn't let whoever was out there know she'd seen them. Crouching low, she gestured for Jordan to keep quiet. They watched as a shadow passed by on the other side of the glass. A figure, cloaked in dark clothing, appeared to be scanning the area, brief flashes of light bouncing off a glinting object in their hand. Mom Jordan's voice trembled with fear, but Maya pressed a finger to her lips, urging him to remain silent. They were in dangerous territory now, possibilities spiraling through her mind. Did this person have something to do with Daryl's situation? Before she could weigh her options, the figure slipped back into the darkness, disappearing from view. A wave of urgency hit her. "We need to call the police," she whispered urgently. But before she could reach for her phone, a sudden thought crossed her mind. What if that shadow was connected to Daryl's case? As she pulled her phone from her pocket, a strong resolve filled her. She wasn't just going to sit back and watch. She had to dive deeper into this mystery. It wasn't just about Daryl anymore. "I'll protect you both," she whispered, tightening her grip on the phone, her heart racing with determination. Maya glanced down at the files again, fragments of a story begging to be told. The crash, the dark figure, Daryl's name. What tangled web had they stumbled into? With a pounding heart, she knew she had to uncover the truth. She had to be the one to unravel the darkness that loomed over her family, and she wouldn't stop until she found answers. Just then, a crackling noise echoed from her phone, an alert breaking the stillness. Her breath caught in her throat as she read the notification on the screen. "Emergency alert. Suspect on the run in your area." A chill ran down her spine. What had she gotten herself into? Maya's mind raced as her eyes flicked back to the broken window and the soft sounds of the outside world. The cold breeze mingled with her dread. Instinctively, she pulled Imani and Jordan closer, trying to shield them from whatever chaos was spiraling outside. This wasn't just an incident. It felt like the beginning of something much darker. "Do you think he is okay?" Jordan's voice quivered, his innocent question striking a nerve in Maya's heart. She had fought to protect her children from the harsh realities just a little longer. But now, as Daryl's name loomed over them like a cloud, there was no hiding from it. "I don't know, sweetheart," she admitted, her voice betraying her. "But we have to be smart. Whatever is happening out there, we'll deal with it together." They huddled close, warmth dissipating into the cold atmosphere of the kitchen. As the silence enveloped them again, Maya's gaze fell on the scattered documents. Why were they here? Why now? She reached out and grabbed a couple of papers, adrenaline coursing through her veins and urging her to scour for clues. One document caught her eye, the name Daryl Reynolds clearly printed at the top. Her heart skipped. The numbers beneath looked like coordinates. They were too precise to be random. This was information, vital information. She held onto it tightly, channeling it as a lifeline for the unknown journey ahead. "Mom, I think we should go hide," Imani whispered, her small frame shaking against Maya. "No, Imani. We can't just leave. What if Daryl needs us? We might be the only chance he has," she replied, trying to stabilize the tremors in her own voice. Just then, a louder crash echoed from somewhere outside, and a scream followed. It was a brutal reminder that danger loomed closer than ever. Maya grabbed her phone again, her fingers shaking slightly as she considered calling for help. But for some reason, she hesitated. What if they traced the call? What if they led whoever was after Daryl straight to her door? Stay in the kitchen and don't make a sound, Maya whispered fiercely, her protective instincts flaring. She slipped the papers into her back pocket, caught between fear and determination. I'll be back, she said, her heart hammering in her chest as she cautiously edged closer to the door leading into the hallway, the shadows around her seeming to shift and twist with each passing moment. Maya moved quietly, adrenaline sharpening her senses. Each step felt measured, the creak of the floorboards beneath her almost deafening. Peering out into the hallway, her eyes scanned for any signs of movement. Suddenly, there was a sharp noise from beyond the front door, a heavy thud, followed by frantic voices. They were rough, accusative, and filled with urgency. Maya, open up, one voice shouted, echoing through the stillness. The panic within her subsided momentarily, but with that came the icy realization that she didn't know who was on the other side. Who is it? She called back, unsure if she should even reveal herself. It's the police. We need to talk to you now. Her heart sunk, torn between relief and trepidation. She needed answers, but could she trust them? Daryl's name had slipped through the cracks, and now it felt like shadows surrounded them. Instead of opening the door, she took a step back, mind racing. There wasn't a sense of safety behind that name, at least not until she figured out if they were friend or foe. And then a thought struck her. Were they coming after Daryl, or were they here for her? Every beat of her heart echoed the fear gripping her. Maya's fingers hovered over the door, torn between the urging desire to protect her kids and the desperate need for answers. Would she risk exposing herself for the sake of reporting Daryl's disappearance? She inhaled sharply, caught in a web of uncertainty. What secrets were tangled within this situation? Just then, something shifted outside again, a rustle too close for comfort. Before she could process her next move, a frantic knock pulsed through the door. Maya, you have to let us in. It's important. The tension hung thick, pulling her mind in spirals of doubt. What was the right choice to make? Maya stood frozen in that moment, knowing her choice would lead them down a path they might not be able to escape. But would the truth finally set them free or pull them into an even deeper darkness? Maya's breath quickened. Her heart pounded like a drum in her ears, drowning out the frantic voices on the other side of the door. She glanced over her shoulder at Imani and Jordan, both wide-eyed and clutching each other. The thought of the police being there, begging her to let them in, twisted in her stomach. She wanted to feel relieved. She wanted to believe they would help. But something felt deeply wrong. Maya. The knock came again, sharper this time, urgency fueling each thud like a hammer striking metal. Please, we don't have much time. In that moment, she weighed her options. Daryl could be in trouble, but who were these officers, really? Were they protecting the law or hunting him down? Every scenario ran through her mind in a chaotic jumble. Trust the police or stand firm for Daryl. It felt like a cruel game, with her children caught in the middle. Taking a deep breath, she stepped back toward the kitchen. Imani, Jordan, stay quiet. No matter what, don't make a sound, okay? They nodded, faces pale under the harsh glow of the overhead light. Maya's heart softened for a moment. These small beings depended on her, but their innocence was now under siege. Turning back to the door, she felt a shudder run through her. Part of her wanted to grip the knob and yank it open. Another part wanted to bind them to the kitchen, sealing them away from whatever storm was brewing. The conflict waged within her, and for a split second, indecision paralyzed her. Just as she braced herself to answer, an unsettling series of footsteps echoed down the hallway. They sounded heavy and methodical. Not police, something deeper, something darker. Maya's instinct kicked in, and she stepped back further into the shadows of the room. Maya, you need to. The voice cut off mid-sentence, replaced by a crackle of static. Maya's eyes flared wide as she recognized a second set of shouts, angrier, with an underlying tension that gripped her heart. They're not just here for you, she whispered to herself. They're here for Daryl. Imani's tiny hand slipped into Maya's, reminding her that fear could paralyze them, but it could also fuel resolution. Maya, the voice tried again, more insistent. We know he's with you. Let us in, and we can keep you safe. A wave of nausea washed over her. Those words were a lifeline, and yet they felt like a chain binding her to the worst fate imaginable. The world outside was spiraling out of control, and all that was pure in her life was caught in the crossfire. Mom Jordan's soft voice trembled in her ear. What if they really are police? I wish I knew, baby. I wish I could promise that everything would be okay, she answered, doing her best to keep the tremor from her voice. She steeled herself, feeling the cold metal of the back pocket where the papers were hidden. Daryl's information was their best chance. We have to figure this out for Daryl, she whispered. Maya returned her gaze to the door, tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Splitting her thoughts, she focused on her breath, counting each inhale and exhale. Every ounce of her screamed for clarity, for action. Then chaos erupted outside, more crashing and shouting, followed by the sound of hurried feet and almost animalistic growls. Fists pounded at the door again. Maya, if you don't open up, it's going to get worse. You don't understand. Maya's heart raced. What was she going to do? Fear clawed at her, tightening around her throat. If she waited too long, would it cost Daryl everything? But what if she stepped outside that door unknowing and led her children into peril? The thought spiraled. With a sudden surge of resolve, she slowly turned the knob, her heart thundering louder than ever, and the moment felt like an eternity then. In that instant of uncertainty, there was a crash from the window, followed by shouts. They were flooding in. Mom. Imani's voice broke through her thoughts, filled with sheer terror as the rush of footsteps grew closer. What had she done? Maya drew her children even closer, feeling the weight of their small bodies against her as the door began to give way. Heart hammering, she whispered, we need to stay together. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. And then, as the darkness swelled, every second became a countdown to the unknown. As the door splintered under the relentless pressure, Maya's mind raced. She could hear the worried whispers of her children beside her, but the chaos outside drowned them out. The wooden barrier was barely holding, and the darkness spilling and felt suffocating. A loud crash sent a jolt of fear coursing through her. Panic surged, but she had to remain strong for Imani and Jordan. Stay behind me, she breathed, her voice low and steady. They could burst through any second. Suddenly, without warning, the door swung open, and in tumbled a pair of uniformed officers, eyes wild and determined. We're here to help, one shouted, his gaze darting toward Maya's children. Get them out of here. But as the officers rushed through the threshold, a dark figure dashed behind them, and Maya's heart sank. Was this a rescue or a trap? Maya stood frozen as Daryl's startled face appeared in the doorway, his body marked with the signs of a struggle. Maya, get the kids and go now. Terror clawed at her throat, but she instinctively grabbed her children. We're not leaving without you. No time. Daryl yelled, his expression fierce but filled with desperation. It's not safe. You have to trust me. From behind Daryl, someone shouted a voice she recognized, but the words were drowned out by the sound of an approaching siren slicing through the chaos. It mingled with the pounding of her heart as fear transformed into unwavering resolve. With a furious energy, Maya stepped forward. I want to leave you, she declared, the fire in her words igniting a wave of support from the neighbors who flooded the house behind her. They stood shoulder to shoulder, a collective strength forming a barricade of unity against the unknown. Who is this? One officer shouted, his eyes now narrowed, scanning the crowd. What is happening here? Maya, please. I need you. Daryl reached for her, but the urgency of the moment swallowed his plea. Instinctively, she looked around, her community gathering at her side, grasping hands, offering strength. They were not just witnesses, they were a family, and they were here to challenge the division threatening to tear them apart. Together, she shouted, and the families nodded, a chorus of voices combining to form a wall. Fear transformed into purpose. In that swirling thunder of uncertainty, they would not fracture, they would fortify one another. In a heartbeat, the dark figure surged forward, and tension exploded into movement. Daryl stepped ahead, hair on the back of his neck standing tall. I'm innocent. They're coming for me because I know too much. Enough. One officer barked, voice stern, but something shimmered in the air, a hint of uncertainty among them, a desire for clarity. Let us get the truth, Maya proposed, her heart thundering. We all felt it here. Unity in the face of fear. Questions and answers in the light of day. Her voice rang with a familiarity that echoed beyond fear, the sound of hope. Taking a deep breath, she turned to her neighbors, words flowing freely. We know Daryl. We've shared our lives. We need to stand together and uncover the truth. If Daryl is innocent, then we owe it to ourselves to prove it. Jordan and Imani stood behind her, their eyes wide with belief. Maya felt them as her unwavering anchors, children who believed in the community spirit and would follow her lead. The tense air crackled with anticipation, and slowly, the tension began to ease. The officers exchanged apprehensive glances, no longer entirely sure where their loyalty lay. Was there corruption within their ranks? The lack of trust began to shatter the rigid surface of authority. Maya, you have to, Daryl interjected, but again she raised a hand to silence him. This isn't just about you. This is about all of us, she replied, looking around at the faces brimming with shared purpose. An officer hesitated. If there are more people involved, if Daryl knows something, we have to hear him out. Just then, another officer spoke up, hesitant yet fragile. We want the truth, too. If someone is hiding it, then we need to uncover it, together. Maya's heart raced. Had they shifted? Could they truly work as allies? Maya, Daryl whispered urgently, drawing her gaze again. I'm scared, but I need you to trust me. She nodded, the emotion bubbling to the surface, a tangled mess of pride and fear. They would face this storm together, and together, they would search for the truth. Before she could respond, a piercing siren blared close by, signaling the arrival of more units. The air trembled with intensity as everyone braced for what might come next. Daryl, she called, her voice unwavering. Tell us what you know. We're ready to listen. Tension swelled, and in that moment, the energy around them shifted, charged yet welcoming. They would not bow to division. They would rise to the occasion. With the community gathered tightly behind them, Daryl began to speak. Words poured from him like a bubbling stream, connecting to the past, the present, and whatever darkness loomed ahead. Truth hovered just beyond reach, but this was the moment they had waited for. Their hearts thrummed with unity as they collectively stepped forward into the light. Together, they would confront the shadows, rewrite the narrative woven into their lives, and face whatever lay ahead as one. Maya smiled, feeling the family bond deepen as the echoes of laughter returned, drowning out doubt. A new beginning was palpable, and hope sparkled in the air. All they had to do was seize it. This is the moment to take action. You need to subscribe now to keep up with our journey. Every like you leave fuels our story and helps support this channel like never before. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this unexpected turn of events. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. Your support makes a real difference.